Thank you for listening to Sioux Falls Business Leaders, who they are and why they do what they do. Today, our guest is Jerry Cozad with Roto. Also have Garrett Gross with us here from Sioux Falls Connected. This is a Sioux Falls Connected podcast. Jerry, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
And now, Roto has been around quite a while, and this is a second-generation business for your family, is that right?
Yeah. My parents brought it up from Iowa. It's based, originally Roto is based out of Des Moines, Iowa. My parents grew up in Newton, Iowa, just a couple miles outside of Des Moines, and brought the Roto franchise to Sioux Falls in 1960. They moved up here, didn't know anybody, just knew of the city of Sioux Falls, and drove up here once. To my great uncle actually used to own the Dixie Bake Shop here in Sioux Falls, if anybody remembers that, over on Minnesota Avenue. And so they came and stayed with my great uncle and looked at the city and said, "Hey, let's try it." And they moved it up here.
Fast forward 58 years later,
years later.
People still need your service as they needed then. Maybe some techniques have changed and some tools have changed, but at the end of the day, the bread and butter base of your business with Roto is doing what?
Is doing day-to-day drains for everybody's household. Sure, we do. The big equipment and the big trucks do a lot of the commercial and ag and industrial stuff, but still our day-to-day stuff is still doing the kitchen sinks and doing the bathroom sinks, and we've moved into the ability to actually camera lines and look at lines. So we do a lot for the real estate market too, pre-buying, post-buying. Just to kind of take an inspection. It's easy to get a home inspection come in and they'll look at your roof and they'll look at your wiring, but they won't look at your drains. Yeah. And to look between the house and the street and look at the main, that's a big part, and that's a big part of what we do now. But still, the day-to-day stuff is still the same stuff it was in 1960. We do it kind of the same. It all starts off the same way, but in the end, we have we have jets now and locating systems and things that make it a lot easier to diagnose.
So when people need your service, you got your variety of customers that call you. There's some people that say, "Get over here right now," and there's other people that say, "Hey, at your leisure, we've got to have this inspection done," or what have you. Kind of how does that process work?
Yeah, so if you call us and it's an emergency or you just want it done today, I would say there's a good 99.5% of the stuff that we get called in on that day, we'll do that day. We have enough trucks and enough guys to get it done on the day you call it in. Now, there's a lot of times where you'll call in and you'll just say, can you get here? It's a Monday, and you'll say, can you get here a week from Monday or Wednesday or whenever you want us to come? We'll set it up so that we can get to your house. The emergency stuff, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a tech that answers the phone. If Chad, the office manager, isn't answering the phone, then one of our techs is answering the phone. It doesn't go to a third-party answering service or outside the company. It stays in-house. And so the guy you're talking to, the individual you're talking to, is somebody in the business, and he can help you whenever you need it.
When the business was started in the early 60s, I'm assuming it was your dad, your mom, and maybe a handful of family and friends. But, now, like I said, fast forward 50-some years, it's more than just a handful of people. Tell us about the team that you have.
Yeah, when we started, my mom and my dad started, we had it in our house over at 804 South Phillips over here. I think we were the only people in the city that had a phone in our actual bathroom. My mom had to be able to answer the phone whenever it rang. So
God bless
we had a phone with about a 50-foot cord on it.
I can work on that in a minute. I have some paperwork to do.
yeah. But now, fast forward and now we have I have 15 techs that work full time. And we always have somebody on call, and we have full-time employees in the office now. We've expanded from what used to be my parents' house. Now we have about an acre and a half land up near Citibank in that industrial park up there. And we have two pretty large buildings and semis and pumper trucks, and it seems like every day the guys want me to get something else, or something breaks and we have to buy something else. And it's a constant upkeep on what's going on, what's new in the market, and what's the latest and greatest thing. And we try and stay up on that and stay in the forefront.
Are there any services that the general public would be surprised that you offer? That clearing drains is your bread and butter, but is there anything that you talked about some of these cameras and the tools that you have? Is there anything that the general public might think, man, that's pretty cool?
Well, the camera systems are our systems itself. We have some that are very small, and we use those. We can use those plumbers will call us to look at some existing pipe, but HVAC guys will call us and say, we know we have something in a duct system somewhere under the floor. We know it's in there. We don't know what's wrong with it. It might be an animal. It might be a hole in the ground. It might be something. And we'll go in there and we'll look at that. But we also have, and those are the push camera systems, but we also have robotic cameras that actually can drive down a pipe, steer, look around the pipe, raise its head, lift up, look in the center of the pipe, look down, turn all around. We can drive it through large storm drain systems, and really get down any direction in any kind of pipe you can think of. We'll get down it. We do a lot of stuff for people that have drain tiles. Now, drain tile systems are not really part of a plumbing system as much as it is a water evac system. It just goes into your sump. And they'll have...
Hey, the phone's ringing. Somebody wants this service right now. I love it.
Let me see if I can get it shut off. But they'll give us a call, and we'll go look at their drain tile systems. And sometimes it'll be the drain tiles are never hooked up. Because, a lot of times they'll have a sump pump pit in their basement, and they bought the house, and they don't know. There's just little holes on each side, and there's never been any water in there. And there's no sump pump in there. There's just a pit. And we'll get in there and we'll look in there, and there'll be maybe 2 feet of pipe on each side. And it's all set up to put drain tile in eventually, but when it was built, it was never put in. And people don't know that sometimes until after they bought the house. And then we come and look at it. So we try and encourage people, if you're going to do the extra step of getting inspected and have all these things looked at, you really should look at a big part of your house, and that's the drain tile and the sewer line.
And that sewer line, if you don't look at that, to have that torn up and all that done, that's thousands of dollars. So it's good to know if you're buying a home, especially an older home, have them run it through there, because it's a whole lot more affordable to know, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot easier to know about it before you close, and maybe talk to the seller and say, hey, this is what we found. Maybe there's some way we can negotiate this now. It's really hard to go back to them a year later or 2 years later and say, hey, this is what I found in the house that we bought from you. And they'll say, well, sorry about that.
Your problem now.
Yeah.
So if you do find an issue in there, do you repair those things too, or do you kind of hand that off to someone else that does the repair?
We hand it off. I like to stay in the area where I don't have a vested interest on saying it's good or saying it's bad. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to work for the customer, the person that owns the system, whether that's the city or whether that's the chief mechanical officer for a building, or if it's for a homeowner. I don't have a dog in the fight. Yeah. I'm just telling you what's wrong, and then you can decide what you want to do with it from there. We can suggest places to go, and we do a ton of work for all the big plumbing houses in town. The big plumbing houses don't clean drains. That's not what they do. They're plumbers. They're not drain cleaners. It's I always give the example of, there's people in Detroit that build your car, but you don't take your car to them to fix it.
Yeah.
The plumbers build your place, but if you want it to work, you got to give us a call.
There you go. It's a good way to look at it. This has been Sioux Falls Business Leaders, who they are and why they do what they do. Our guest once again today, Jerry Cozad. Jerry, thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And again, on behalf of Garrett Gross from Sioux Falls Connected, this is a Sioux Falls Connected podcast. I'm John Small from Sunny Radio. Have a great day.